Hey, Kelly here from English Learner Portal. I wanted to bring you a new strategy, share with you by video so I can share my slides and share some manipulatives with you. So today we're talking about developing the word level, developing vocabulary. There are a lot of vocabulary activities out there. In this one, I want to take us back to the three principles. So all the time at English Learner Portal, we're talking about the three principles: critical thinking, comprehensibility, and interaction, of building those three principles into every lesson to make it the most accessible to all students regardless of English proficiency level. So here's how I would take a typical vocabulary activity I see in the classroom and tweak it just a little to make it more comprehensible. So really thinking on comprehensibility today. So what I saw in a classroom not long ago, or what I was part of, is a teacher trying to make a vocabulary activity more interactive, which was awesome, really working in that interactive part. So the teacher gave all of the students a word or a definition. So these were terms from English class, such as mood or tone, and all of those kind of simile, metaphor, language arts, vocabulary. All of the students had their vocabulary on cards, either a term or a definition. And the students had to walk around the room, mix and match, pass the cards back and forth until he said stop. When the teacher said stop, everyone had to look for their partner. So they had to read the cards, they had to talk a little, they had to go around and interact with others, which was a great way to add interaction into the vocabulary activity. And I wrote about this in a blog a few weeks back, that activity really got my students, my newcomers in that class, up and interacting with others. Even though they didn't say much, they just walked around with their card and showed people. That was the first step for them in really interacting with their English-speaking peers. So here's how I would take that lesson that was a great way to bring in vocabulary and get students up and moving and interacting, and add another layer of comprehensibility on top of it to make it even better. So to set up this lesson, what I would do is to add some visuals to it. The examples I'm going to share with you are from workshop I did recently with teachers. So this is using, teaching English learner vocabulary. This is workshop vocabulary. This isn't what I would do with students, of course, but these are the materials I have on hand. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, I would first put up a screen. I use these symbols with students to show when they're working individually, when I want them to collaborate, and then again individually to do their record. In this case, I have them working in groups of three, so I put the three little people there. So this sets up the comprehensibility to say, first you're going to think alone, then you're going to work in groups of three, and then you're going to come back again and record, take notes from here. Right. So then I would go to just first show the words and read through them. Depending on the levels of my students, I would probably read through each of the terms and point to them just so they could match the sound and the visual. Again, these are adult workshop terms that we're using in this example. I could put the language arts terms or the science terms, social studies terms, math terms, whatever it is. Right? And just first look at the words, get a visual of the word, hear the word, and be able to start matching that visual of the term to the sound of the term. It's really important. That's the one step I see missing a lot in classrooms, is teachers will talk about a word. Like critical thinking, you remember what that means? Who remembers? Yes, that's what it is. And we have this whole conversation, but I never saw it. And so with me as a visual learner, that really helps cement it. So putting that visual up there to just let me see that word as well. They might be written on the board, they might be on a screen, whatever your choice of technology or not technology would be. Chart paper, as long as they can see them. Okay. Then my slides are out of order here. I'll fix them for the download. Then I would put up some visuals for each. And I just say, look at the terms, look at the pictures. We're going to be matching the terms and pictures in just a minute. So think for a minute about which ones you think go together. Which ones do you think will go together when you get up and start moving around? Give them a few minutes to think it through so that conversation when they get up and start moving isn't just cold. They have a few minutes to know who they're looking for, think about why. Right? Think about it first by yourself for a minute and really give that time. Quiet think time. Then I would say at your table or turn to a partner or with people around you, have a quick conversation. Which ones do you think go together? Who are you going to look for when you get your words? And have them do a little pre-chat, clarify. It also, adding this step in for a minute makes the get up and move go a little faster because they already know who they're looking for. So there is some management in there as well. The trick is you have to know how many students are in the room and have the right number of cards, because it turns into chaos if there's somebody without a miss. Well, not chaos, it gets confusing. So you have to be prepared to think, if I am using groups of 3 cards, my number of students is not divisible by 3. How am I going to handle that? So make sure you think about that ahead of time, because lessons learned. Okay, after that, then I say, here's what you're going to do. You are going to create groups of 3. And again, the directions are visual because we give so many oral directions in the classroom. And our beginners are just kind of like, okay, teacher's talking. I know we're going to do something. Okay, everybody get up. I don't know what that is. So comprehensibility, I'm showing you exactly what I want from you. And I have in my hand, right, we have cards with words. Right, you have a card, you could color code them, like the word cards could be green, the definition cards could be blue, whatever you want to do there, depending on your creativity. You have cards with a picture, and you have cards with the definition. What you're going to do, I'm going to hand everyone a card, and you are going to get up and move and walk around, and you're going to find your group of 3. You have to have the word, the picture, and the definition that go together. And you get together and move to the perimeter of the room, right? Move to the outside of the room so I can see everybody that has a group. And then we can help find partners for those who are not finding their partner. So once everyone partners up, they move to the perimeter. I like to use perimeter, get the math word in there. Move to the perimeter of the room. And then each group shows the picture that they used, and they say the word, interaction, and then they say the definition, student to student, communication, or talking. Now this is important because, again, it's repetition. The vocabulary becomes part of your vocabulary after so many repetitions. There's a lot of research on that, but they need to repeat, repeat, repeat. So read it out. Next group, we read around the room. We're checking, make sure everybody's in the right place. If you have 6 terms and you need to have more than one set of each term, that's fine. We did this with a group of 70 the other day. I only had this many terms, 6 terms. There were multiple groups with the same word. It's more repetition, worked out fine. Besides those stragglers, couldn't find their group. Always happens. Okay, so now we say, I'm going to put on some music, or I'm just going to count, or we're just going to move, whatever, how fancy you want to be. And you are going to mix and mingle. You're going to take your card, you're going to walk around the room, and as you walk around, you're just going to hand your card to somebody else and take their card. Hand your card to somebody else, take their card. And maybe trade off, 3, 4, 5 times. Just walk around the room, mix it up, change cards. Everybody should end up with a different card. And then, again, stop, find your group, and then go through. So the teacher I was working with before was doing this. They really got into it, and they started timing it. Okay, last time it took you 2 minutes. Let's see if we can beat that time. and then timing it between class periods. It turned into a competition between second period and third period. It could be, you know, a competition between two groups. You could split them up. You could do a lot of different things with it. But in the end, it's that repetition, repetition, repetition. And then after the introduction of this new vocabulary and this activity, this just moves into the warm-up. So it takes 2-3 minutes at the start of the lesson. Okay, let's warm up, remember our vocabulary, and everybody grab a card. Here we go. It should take 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. We're down to 60 seconds. Let's do it, warm up, read one time around. We remember our vocabulary, back to work. So it turns into a great warm-up after it is the lesson. These are also great to throw in a baggie and have handy for when you have that little bit of time you need to fill before class ends or before you switch, or there's just, you know, 5 minutes that you don't want to start something new. Just grab one of your vocabulary baggies and do a mix and match. So then we need to get back to the academic part, and I would have the students then, they're going to sit with your group and you're going to complete your note sheet. So everyone should have their group. They're going to come back. I have the slides here that I could go through if I wanted to do it more teacher-led. Here is their note sheet where they just are going to write in the word and the definition. I could have them do it from the slides, taking notes. I could have them sit with a group, record, switch, get another term, record, a lot of different ways depending on how you wanted to make that happen. But you are adding in a ton of interaction and a lot of comprehensibility because of the repetition, the visuals, the note-taking, the movement, all of that really adds to the comprehensibility of it. So once students have their note sheet complete, then it goes in their notebook and they can practice and be ready for the next day. So one question that comes up a lot with this is, should I just fill this all out ahead of time and hand it to them rather than take the time to take notes? Because some students take a long time to write down the notes. And I think that depends on your situation. Here's how I think about it. Some of it depends on time. If I have time and my students are decent copiers, right, that they have that ability to do it within a reasonable amount of time, it does take more time to have them copy. But I do like to take that time because, again, the physical writing of the word, visualizing it, looking at it, copying it, you're interacting with the word still, and you're putting it in visual memory because you're looking like, okay, it's N-E-W-C-O-M, that you're really putting it into your memory. You're writing that definition while they're writing. I keep repeating it over and over. Repeating it over and over, they're writing it down. And that physical act of writing helps the memory. We don't always have time for that. So maybe I fill in half of them. Maybe I fill in all the words and they put the definitions. Maybe I fill in some words and some definitions and they fill in the missing spaces. If there's a student who really struggles to copy and it becomes like a major task, then I can just have it filled in and they can read along with us. It really depends on your time. It depends on your students, their levels, and what they need. But it's a great way to differentiate depending on their speed. If they're fast copiers, give them a blank. If they are in the middle, give them half and half. If it becomes a task, just fill it out. But really make sure they're interacting with it, because just handing someone a paper to put in their notebook, we know very few students are really going to interact with that paper again. So let's make it happen for them. I always provide the visual, and then sometimes if there's time, I'll say, you know, if there's another picture that comes to mind, go ahead and jot down your picture or draw something quick that helps you remember the word if there's something that comes to mind. But for me, that I always seem to have students who are so particular about their pictures that it ends up becoming art class, and we spend way too much time on the vocabulary review. So I put an image and just say, if there's another picture that comes to mind, feel free to jot it in there. So there's one way to take a pretty traditional, pretty simple, and actually very active vocabulary activity of getting up and mix and match and adding in the visuals and the comprehensibility to a new level that will make this activity accessible to all levels of your English learners and really get students to put those words into their memory and be ready to use them as you move on into your unit. I hope this is helpful. If you have any ideas or twists that you would do or how you would upgrade this to be even more interactive or more critical thinking or more comprehensibility, please send that along. I'd love to hear your ideas too. Have a great day, and thanks for everything you do.